these contain spoilers because I want to tell the story. But this author, they're both by the same author. I recommend reading these books yourself because they're that good and they're short. So even if you're not like an avid reader, I think that you can still get into these books. They're probably less than like 200 pages, right? I think I read these both in a day or 2 days. If you can, like, subscribe, comment, because it means the world to me when you do. Alright. Oh, I saved my first sip for you guys. I wanted it so freaking bad in the car on the way here. Oh, I might have a sneeze. I hope I don't have a sneeze. Oh, heaven. So, this is my iced latte. This is the last warm-ish day we're gonna get for a long time. And by warmish, I think it's gonna get to like 59. And then it's going down. So I don't know how many more iced lattes are in my future, but it's so good. I get a large iced latte from Dunkin' with four French vanilla swirls and 4 toasted almond shots. I'm sure this is probably a ton of sugar, right? Whatevs. Okay. So the author is Chad Lutzke. Lutzke. Chad Lutzke. The first one I read by him, you know, I'm huge on like addiction fiction. So sometimes I just search addiction fiction, or I know where I found these. On one of my horror book pages, I asked for addiction fiction, and it's not a huge genre, but this was one of the recommendations for this book. They're not both addiction fiction. One is addiction fiction, the other one's something else. But okay, so the first one is called Wildflower by Chad Lutzke. Again, it's Lutzke, Chad Lutzke. Unfortunately, this review does not. Let's see if Goodreads has a better one, because the Amazon review for that one, or synopsis, was kind of just all reviews and no synopsis. So I'm gonna check what the Goodreads has to say for Wildflower by Chad. There it is. Okay. Now this is considered a coming of age, I think. Coming of age, or maybe it is still considered young adult, but it doesn't read like a young adult. But the main character is, I think, pretty young, maybe just out of high school. Now this has 4.41 stars out of 240 ratings on Goodreads. And it is a novella. I don't know what constitutes a novella versus a novel, other than I know like novellas are shorter, but where does the cutoff point? I do not know. And this doesn't have much, so I'll kind of tell you more. But it says, after an encounter with a homeless man, a high school graduate becomes obsessed with the idea of doing heroin, challenging himself to try it just once. A bleak tale of addiction, delusion, and flowers. So, since there's not much to read right there, I'm gonna go ahead and open one of the reviews just so it can like trigger my memory. By the time I admitted I had an addiction, it was too late. I was hooked for 25 years before I finally quit for good. How does a person get to that point? What could be done to prevent it from happening? If anything, these are valid questions surrounding addiction. Wildflower doesn't answer any of these questions, but it does tell the story of one man, and he tells it poignantly with feeling and truth. Highly recommend it. Okay, so it is about I think fresh out of high school boy that goes with his friends to go goof around in this neighborhood. I think they're in Texas. There's a neighborhood that was being built, and then for whatever economic reasons, they halted the building. So the houses are up, but the insides are just like planks and stuff, I believe. Like no drywall yet. So they go out there to go, do some dumb like vandalism or something, I can't remember. And they are in one of the houses and they go upstairs. And the main character, I think all of them actually come across a sleeping man, a sleeping homeless man. But next to him is like all of his drugs. And I think the man wakes up and like there might be a little fight or something. I think they do like get into a physical altercation. yes, it gives you that feeling. Let's read this review really quick by Mindy. This book was hard to read, and I think it's going to be even harder to review. It's so raw and so close to lutzke that you feel like you're reading something that you shouldn't. Any book about addiction is going to be a difficult read. Somehow lutzke manages to take a bleak tale that cannot possibly end well and infuse it with a little bit of beauty. However, that beauty is subtle. And this one hits you hard, friends, so be prepared. I've noticed that this is the least talked about of lutzke's books, and there's a reason for that. It's incredibly painful to read, and it doesn't make for an easy discussion topic. Agree. I'm probably going to have to put some trigger warnings on this. If you love lutzke's writing, you don't need a review to get you to read this one. I would, however, recommend new readers start with something less bleak. Most of lutzke's tales go to sincerely dark places, but he's adept at shining a little bit of hope on any situation. This one does not have that. This one is pure darkness and reality. Lutzke has truly bared his soul for this one, and I thank him for sharing his story. It couldn't have been easy for him. Oh, is this Lutzke's actual story? What? I wonder if, like, how do you find that out? Because that kind of... Oh no, for this story. Okay, never mind. Alright. So, yeah. Maybe don't start with that unless you're seasoned. Maybe don't start with that, but start, like, dig into lutzke if you like horror with feeling. Now the other one. This one is not addiction fiction. It is intense though. I mean, this one is called Of Foster Homes and Flies. And so I'll read you the little synopsis. A neglected 12-year-old boy does nothing to report the death of his mother in order to compete in a spelling bee. A tragic coming-of-age tale of horror and drama in the setting of a hot New Orleans summer. So this one doesn't really give you a synopsis, but Amazon did a better job at that. It's so weird because Amazon and Goodreads, usually Goodreads has a better synopsis, but let's go to Of Foster Homes and Flies on Amazon, and I'll give you their review. Oh, now it's gone. Sorry, guys. Chad Lutzke, L-U-T. There it is. Okay. Alright. So, Denny is the boy's name. Denny is a 12-year-old neglected boy who's been studying all year for an upcoming spelling bee. But when his alcoholic mother dies in her sleep, he suddenly faces foster care. To ensure he still competes in the school event, he hides his mother's death for 1 week so he can have a chance at something he so desperately needs. Something to be proud of. Something his dad would have been proud of. A win, a tragic coming-of-age tale of horror and drama in the setting of a hot New Orleans summer. So, Denny, I think he's in 6th grade. And in 5th grade, he really wanted to do the spelling bee, but he didn't, like, muster up the courage to join the spelling bee. So in 6th grade, like, that's his main goal. It's coming up on the end of the year, and I think that's, like, one of the final events at school. His dad died years ago, and his mom is a mean alcoholic. She's chair, like her recliner or something, and drinks all day, and she has a little dog. I picture her dog like my dog, like a little poodle. I think it was a little poodle. And for some reason I think it was white, but that's just probably my head making a movie. So one day he comes down the stairs and the mom's like slumped over in her chair and she looks dead, and she is dead. So it's kind of like that. He just freezes up, like when you're a kid and you're scared, so you do nothing. I mean, maybe if you have trauma as a kid, you kind of know that. If you've ever, everybody does something different, but some people just freeze up and just like robot through, so he just goes to school, like he sees her and he just like finishes getting ready and goes to school. And then he's at school thinking about it all day long, and he decides that he is going to, that just jogged a memory, because I remember my stepdad passing out, like I was 6, I think, and he was like walking from one room to another, and he passed out. Like I don't know if he got up too quick or if he was drinking the night before or whatever, but like I heard his head like hit the like wall, and he was just like laying there, and I just sat there because I didn't know what to do. So that's what I mean, like these books will like, they really take you back. But anyways, so he goes to school, and all day he's thinking about what he should do, and he just really wants to finish the spelling, like do the spelling bee. So he decides he's not going to tell anybody yet. So he goes home, and the mom had like slumped out of the chair, so she's on the floor now, like she's just like rigor mortis or something, and she's on the floor and she's stiff, and the dog is using the bathroom all around, and it's hot. It's New Orleans. It's just getting disgusting. There start to be like flies that come in, and he has to like wrap her up to kind of keep the smell. So he uses tarps or something, I can't remember. And he keeps going to school, and he even goes and sleeps over at a friend's. He has to get rid of the dog because the dog he just can't take care of it, so he has to go take it to a foster, like an animal shelter. But he loves the dog, so that's heartbreaking. He finds, how, like I have a notebook right here, and sometimes when I'm on the phone, I'm like doodling or writing down notes. So he goes into his mom's purse to get some money so he can get some food from the gas station. He finds her little notebook, and in it there's some notes, and it says like Denny should have been aborted. So this poor kid. So he takes the money, he gets a little bit of food, he ends up, I think he gets like second place in the spelling bee on that last day. Somehow the cops do find out what's going on, and luckily he had a good aunt, and they had got a hold of her. So when he comes home that day to the cops and stuff, I think that's how it goes, she's on her way, already on her way in, and she picks him up, and they end up getting the dog back, and he gets to live with her, and she does care about him. So that one has a little light at the end of the tunnel. But please read these books. I mean, fall is the perfect time for horror. I mean, even though Halloween is on its way out, I don't know if that's your jam, if horror is your jam. I think this is the perfect time to get into this author, and you'll probably binge all of his books